President of the UFC, Mr. Dana White.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it very much. Thank you, Greg, man who runs what I consider the best commission in all of combat sports. We're happy to be back here in Philly. And, you know, like Greg said, we've been through a lot of changes over the past few weeks, and it's been the craziest card ever with the most injuries, pullouts, but we managed to pull it off and keep a great card together here. Mike Pyle and Rory McDonald, Akiyama versus Vitor Belfort, and Tito Ortiz versus Rashad Evans. Just keep it simple here. Who's first? Who's got the first question? Joe?
Question for Tito and Rashad. Can you talk about the difference between this fight here and the last one? Rashad, you mentioned that, you know, when you were competing at that time, you're like, oh my God, I'm fighting Tito Ortiz, but sort of roles are reversed. You're saying Tito saying that.
Yeah, I mean, when I had to fight Tito the first time, I was very young and impressionable at the time, and you know, it's one of those growing pains in the sport. You know, fighting somebody like Tito Ortiz, a legend of the sport at the time, and still is. It was very hard for me to kind of, you know, realize what was happening, and then the fight's over. I'm like, man, I could have really fought this guy and did a lot better. But those days are over. You know, I'm one of the bigger guys in the organization now, and I know what I can do, and I'm very confident in my abilities.
Well, you know, it's nice to hear his confidence in his abilities that he believes in, and of course, my confidence is through the roof. My abilities was where I always wanted to be, before my surgery, and now my surgery's done. It's been a year and a half, and I'm very confident, as I say. You say, what's the difference between before and now? I'm a different person. Mentally, physically, emotionally, everything I've always wanted to be in for the UFC. Having Dana have my back, and UFC having my back, and be where I want to be, and being a world champion again, and that's facing against Rashad Evans. I mean, he's a former light heavyweight world champ, and so am myself, and I see some mistakes in his game, and he thinks I have mistakes in my game, but on Saturday night we're going to prove and see who's the best man with my hand raised.
Rashad, question for you, if I could. It seems like, you know, you have a lot to lose in this. Tito has won one fight in 5 years, and you know you were recently a champion, and you're taking a fight where he doesn't have a lot to lose, and you seem like, you know, you do. And so does that add any pressure, or does that affect you in any way?
No, I think we both have the same amount to lose. I mean, the truth of the matter, what it comes down to, no matter what happens after this fight, the bare essentials is this right here. Neither of us want to lose to the other person. You know, and when it comes down to that, nobody wants to lose a fight. And whatever happens after that, happens after that. But for the most part, he doesn't want to get whooped by me, and I don't want to get whooped by him. So when it comes down to anything to lose, we both got the same thing to lose. We both don't want to lose.
Tito, what's your response to that?
I don't think about losing. I mean, you say over the last 5 years, go look at those matches. Tell me which ones I truly lost, besides, you know, Machida and Hamill. I lost some close matches, and you know, I come back after injuries I did. Athletes don't come back compete the way I compete. I have some great things to achieve in this world, and I'm not done yet. You know, I want to show everybody in this United States and the world in general that you're able to compete no matter what surgery you have done, and I'm gonna prove it on Saturday night.
And Dana, just if you can react to that, you know, especially from Tito's standpoint, you know, since he had the upset win over Bader, is it kind of weird to you that theoretically he could get a title shot being 2-4-1 in his last 7 fights?
Yeah, well, that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens in the fight. You know, there's no doubt he's the #1 contender. He's been sitting out for a long time. We were very fortunate that Tito stepped up and took this fight. You know, Tito went in and beat who many believed was the #7 ranked guy, this young up and coming light heavyweight, and it put Tito back on the map. Yep.
Mr. Akiyama, my name is Bill Yetzi. I'm from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Your record in the UFC is 1-2. Your overall record is 13-3. Do you feel that the UFC is more challenging than the previous organization in which you fought?
フィラデルフィアインクワイアさんですけども、秋山さんの成績はアメリカでは2勝1敗ですか、日本で13勝なんですけども、前のオーガニゼーションに比べて、
Just put it up to your mouth. There you go.
前のオーガニゼーションに比べてこの UFC の方を、どう思いますかってこと。
Hello, everybody. My name is Akiyama. やっぱり UFC はすごくレベルが高いですし、素晴らしい選手がたくさんいてるから、私は、全力を尽くして戦ってますが、今の成績ではなくてもっともっといい成績を残したいと思ってます。
I am and hello to the Philadelphia people, and I am sexy Yama, and not instead Akiyama. I think it's the UFC has an excellent athlete and competitor, and so I'm very happy to fight here, and I'm going to improve more.
You look at Mr. Belfort as one of your icons. How do you plan to beat your icon?
ビクトさんのアイコンをどうやって打ち破るかと言ってますか。
とてもすごいストライカーなので、けどそれでもしっかり僕も打ち合って戦いたいと思ってます。
He's an excellent, strong and striker, but I will fight back.
Yeah, this is for Rory McDonald. I know that you got involved in MMA or became interested in MMA at a very young age, turned pro at a young age. Can you kind of talk about what drew you to the sport, and also being from Canada? I mean, were you ever involved in hockey? I know that's like the national sport.
Yeah, I was a very athletic kid growing up, and actually I was introduced to MMA by my father at the age of like 5 or 6. So I always had an interest in the UFC, but I found a gym at the age of 14 in the town I was living in, Kelowna, and I just fell in love with it and turned pro at 16, and I just dropped everything else and just went 100% into MMA.
You said being very athletic. I mean, what other sports were you involved in? And was hockey was one of the sports?
Yeah, hockey, soccer, baseball, everything, man. Track and field, everything I could just do to be active. Like, I would never sit down. I was a very hyperactive kid. When I'd get home, I'd just be running around the house, running around. Where I grew up, I grew up on a lake in a very small town, and I would just run around, go through the forest. I mean, I was doing everything, man. I was very active.
And one final thing, you're fighting a very experienced opponent, Mike Pyle. Do people maybe sometimes underestimate you because you are a young guy and you look your age?
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of like, I'm sort of growing up a little more into my looks now, but like when I first started, it was crazy. I looked like I was 12 years old when I was 16, so I'm used to it. Like, people can think what they want to think, but when the cage door closes, it's man versus man. It doesn't matter what I look like at that point.
Question for Mike Pyle, please. Mike, if you look at kind of the theme of this fight, it's you're an underdog on paper going up against a guy that's got a lot of hype, younger guys. Is this kind of a theme that you're getting used to in your career?
Yeah, the last 3 fights that I've had have been wins, and I've been underdog every time. Those odds mean nothing to me. Whoever's making those odds doesn't affect me at all. I'm in the gym training all the time. I got some of the best coaches in the world, and I'm pushing all the time. I'm getting better all the time, and UFC has brought out the best in me. My loss to Ellenberger really woke me up and made me make a lot of changes, and I think it's shown in my last 3 fights.
Since we didn't really get to talk to you after the last fight, I was wondering if I could get your thoughts on your performances. I mean, it seemed like one of the closer fights. A lot of people thought you won. A lot of people might have given it to Ricardo.
Of course, you always want to get a finish. You always want to get a finish in front of the eyes of the UFC. But the competition is tough. I'll take a win if I can get it, but I always love a finish. I wanted to fight. Almeida wanted to wrestle. Anytime we were, in any exchange, he was around my waist trying to take me down, which I had to try to, stuff that most of the fight. I hit him with some good shots. He was able to take it. it is what it is. I didn't get to finish. That I wanted to finish. Could I have done better? I feel I could have done better, and that's why I'm back in the gym, working harder to make sure that I do finish.
And lastly, for Rory, it seems like this is one of the only fights that hasn't undergone any changes, so you've had some time to look at Mike and get to know his game. What can you say about him?
I don't really study footage of fighters, and I just work on my own thing and bring my own game into the fight. I'm not really too worried what he's gonna bring.
Dan, if you can just talk about all three bouts, starting off with the main event and the difficulties in putting it together, then just go through each bout and give us your thoughts on these incredible matchups.
Yeah, well, it wasn't difficult putting it together. It was difficult keeping it together. I say it all the time. Joe Silva's the best matchmaker in combat sports, period. And he gets out there and, when stuff starts falling apart, he's really the guy that's got to deal with that, not me. But as far as this fight goes, obviously, Pyle and McDonald, two tough, gritty, up-and-coming guys. McDonald has won. He's actually finished 10 of his last 11 opponents. And like I said, there's a lot of hype around this kid right now, but we're going to find out how good he really is going up against Pyle. Pyle's been on a run, and he's told me personally, this is my time right now in the UFC. This is my window. I'm taking this and going all the way to the top, so we'll find out Saturday night. And then Akiyama versus Vitor Belfort. I love watching Akiyama fight. This guy comes to fight, he brings it. And when the gentleman asked him earlier, about losing his first couple fights in the UFC and compared to his record, if you look at the fights that Akiyama fight, they were barn burners. I mean, I think his last 3 fights, he's won fight of the night. Is that right, Joe? Yeah. Fight of the night, his last 3 fights. So this guy comes to fight, he brings it, and I think that his style matches up great with Vitor Belfort. I think that Vitor's incredibly talented, has great hands, and Akiyama's going to make him use them on Saturday night. And then Rashad and Tito. Rashad's been waiting for a while to get a fight here. You want to talk about a string of bad luck. His has been a lot worse than mine has. He's, every time he's had a fight, his guys got injured or he's got injured, and he's been sitting out for like a year and a half now. And Tito's popularity has never been bigger. Tito hasn't been this popular since 2003. A lot of people that thought he was going to get finished by Bader, he came in and pulled off the huge upset. And I think a lot of people have gotten behind him and are excited about his resurgence here. So we'll see what happens on Saturday. Tito catapulted himself back up into the top 10 and stepped up on short notice and took this fight with Rashad Evans, which I give him a lot of credit and respect for. Yep.
Yeah, Dana. UFC gets great responses wherever it goes, anywhere around the world, but UFC 101, when you came to Philadelphia for the first time, can you kind of talk about the response that you got here then and what you expect on Saturday?
Yeah, no, it's great here. The thing that I love about Philly, and Greg said it before, this is a fight town. Philly's famous for being a huge fight town. Some of the best boxers and fights have happened here in Philly, and I always say I'm proud to be the guy bringing big fights back to Philly. And the response here is always awesome. The last show that we had here was incredible. We had a blast, and we expect the same on Saturday night.
Hey, Mike. Dana said, he alluded to the fact that you told him this is your time now. Being 35, you've been in this sport for a long time. Why do you think that this is your time now? Why has it taken until 35 to get here?
I've been asked that question a lot. I guess I'm a late bloomer. I'll take that, though. I'm healthy. I'm healthier now than I ever have been. I think due to my fighting style, I don't really get into a lot of rock'em sock'em robot type fights, so I don't have a lot of years, if you will, on me because of that reason. I can't give you an answer why, but I can give you an answer that I'm going to be hell to deal with now at 35.
And Rory said that he doesn't really pay attention to the guys that he's fighting or look at tape of them or something of that nature. Is that a mistake in your opinion?
What he thinks doesn't matter to me. When we get in there and we start, finding that rhythm of the fight, he'll find he won't be able to hang with my rhythm. So that's it.
And can you kind of give your impressions of his overall development as a fighter? He's obviously impressed a lot of people so far.
He's definitely an impressive fighter, no doubt about that. I'm in the UFC. We're both in the UFC. We're fighting in the UFC Saturday night. Both of us are going to be tough, no doubt about it. There's no slackers in UFC. You're always tested when you're fighting anyone in UFC, whether it's their first fight in UFC or if it's their 10th fight in UFC. You're always going to be tested, and I look forward to this test. I'm really anxious about it. It's a great matchup. He's got skills. I got skills. Let's put it together and let's make a show.
For Vitor, you were so excited and ready for your last fight against Anderson. Didn't turn out the way you want to, obviously. Can you talk about putting that fight behind you and preparing to move on?
Yesterday is a cancel check, tomorrow is a promissory note, and today is cash on hand. I'm in Philly. I'm so excited. I trained so hard. I feel like I evolved so much. I was part of the sport in the past. I'm part of the present, and I'll make sure I'll be part of the future. So my job is to fight. I will bring Saturday a very tough fight.
Vitor, Wagner Vargas, Correio Brasiliense, Brasil. Do you think beating Akiyama guarantees you a ticket to another title shot?
The question was if I beat Akiyama, if I get me the tickets to fight for the title. So I think in the present, the future belongs to Dana and Joe Silva, and my present is now. I have to overcome Akiyama. So that's the only things on my mind right now.
Hey Dana, notice that you've been doing a really good job of doing old school, new school every event, and it's really refreshing for the old school guys that have been watching since the beginning of UFC to see the new talent coming up, plus the superstar legends from the past. Is this something that you're trying to do every time? It seems like you're getting some really great old school guys and then bringing that other talent right up behind it.
Not really. The old school guys are still around, so the new guys got to beat them. But when you look at the old guard, the only two that are still around really are Tito, and then Matt Hughes is going to fight here soon. The rest are all starting to retire. And Vitor, yeah. I keep forgetting how long Vitor's been around. That's true. Vitor's here too. Yeah, true. Sorry, Vitor.
Don't worry.
I just don't think of you as old as Tito.
It's not. It's like me young. I feel young.
Sorry, Dana, this is not event related, but I had to ask because it's a big story in Canada, and it's apparently going across all the different MMA websites. Your good buddy there, Chad Ochocinco, and Tito, you've seen some stuff with him on Twitter. Just took a shot at a bunch of Canadians, especially George St. Pierre. Have you guys heard what he said?
Who did, Ochocinco?
Ochocinco.
Yeah, this is a tough one for me because he's going to the Patriots, and I'm a Patriots fan, man. But he talks so much shit, it's unbelievable. Yeah, he's crazy. I don't know if he's just out there trying to get some more followers or what, or if he's really that nuts. Yeah, Chad.
I guess you know when you're famous, huh?
Yeah, you need to stick to football.
Yeah.
He takes shots at you all the time too, and he just took a shot at George St. Pierre and all of Canada. So
Anderson Silva too.
I got to give a lot of thanks to Dana for putting us on the map. For guys like that who are in the NFL and then take a shot at UFC fighters, they want to make a name off of us. Let it be until he steps in the cage with us, or even in my gym at Punishment Training Center. Let's see how big his mouth is then.
And Rory, not sure if you heard, but he did take a shot at George St. Pierre, saying there's no way he could lose to a Canadian. You train with George. Any thoughts on that?
I don't really know Chad Ochocinco, but I know he beat up that hockey player, George LaRocque, in the gym. So I don't know. He's already taken one professional athlete down.
What did he do?
He wrestled George LaRocque.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
GSP did.
Oh, okay. GSP did. Yeah. Gotcha.
You're talking about this thing seriously?
For Mike again, Mike, you alluded earlier to you made some changes after the Allenberger loss a few years ago. Can you kind of go over what were some of the most significant things you changed?
One of the most significant things was my diet. I brought on Mike Dolce with the Dolce diet, and that changed a lot of things for me, and also mentally. There's certain pressures that come with being in the big show, which is UFC. I kind of just was coasting through some of the other talent that was in the other organizations, and not really buckling down and really, finding what's important to me. And I got woke up when I came to UFC. It was a wake up call, and it's either get serious or, I don't know, go back to being a machinist. I'm not going to be a machinist again.
Vitor, can you tell me how many fighters have you fought with the style of Mr. Akiyama?
I think I fought one of the best wrestlers before, and a guy like him, he can punch and he can take a fight. So he's gonna be a perfect match for me. It's gonna be a fight. I'm ready. I'm really more into what I can do. So I'm focusing on my talents and the gifts and the calling that God gave me, and I'm gonna make sure I use on Saturday.
What is your favorite submission hold?
Maybe a toe hold. I don't know. It's just whatever's in front of me. I don't have a favor. UFC, you have to be ready for everything. You have to be ready for whatever's in front of you. You have to make sure you be ready to get it.
Question for Rory, over here to your left. Can you talk about what your win at UFC 129 did for your confidence? Because obviously you had to sit on the sidelines for a long time after the Condit loss. Huge fight, 55,000 in your home country, and how you felt after, and if you felt like you almost got a monkey off your back by getting back on the winning track.
Yeah, I had some.
Go ahead, keep talking, it'll come on.
Yeah, I had some ring rust coming off the loss too. My confidence was shook a little bit, and I had a lot of nerves going into that fight. But I felt after that fight like I relieved that pressure that I set on myself after losing. So my confidence is back up better than ever.
Or maybe the mic won't come back on. Did you hear him?
I did, yeah. I just wanted to ask a follow-up as well. At TriStar, you're around GSP and Faraz and those guys who've been around the sport for a long time. What have they told you about not, now that you're back on the winning track, and of course there's a lot of buzz surrounding you, about not, looking into that too much and believing in it and just focusing on fight to fight?
Yeah, I mean, I just work on the stuff that Faraz is teaching me in the gym. I'm keeping level head on my shoulders and just being myself, and when I get in the cage, I use the techniques that I practice. It's easy as that.
And just one for Mike. Do you see any similarities between this fight and your UFC, 120 fight against John Hathaway? Hathaway, was fighting in his home country. Rory obviously not here, but it seems as though it's kind of a similar situation. And I'm wondering if you see any similarities between that fight and this fight.
Yeah, I mean, there's some very subtle things, young guy, coming up in the sport and trying to make a name for himself in UFC, backing him and building him. It's kind of the same, but two totally different fighters, two totally different styles. I don't think about that at all. I think about what dangers that McDonald is going to pose and how to deal with them. So that's. But I still plan on doing the same thing that I did at UFC 120.
This question over here on your left for Tito and Rashad. So I'll start with you, Tito. After your victory against your last victory, how much of your decision had to do with the fact that you still had that little thing on your chest about the tie that you guys had before? I mean, kind of like a rematch or something to get it off your shoulder. Or have you moved on from that?
I moved on from that 100%. I'm a totally different person, a different fighter. I look at that one as a learning experience on both of our parts. I think Rashad learned a lot from it. I learned a lot from it. I felt how strong Rashad was. He said he was a puppy, and now he's a big dog. We'll see on Saturday night, man.
How about you, Rashad? I know the three changes in opponents. Once it came down to Tito, did that cross your mind at least just to tie?
No, not really. I was happy that he just took the fight, to be honest. Because when you have fights canceled like that, you never know what's going to happen. And I've been out of the cage so long. I would have fought anybody. So it really didn't matter. But the fact that he stepped up, it was kind of cool. You know, I had to kind of rekindle those old feelings of what happened in that draw. But for the most part, I moved on from that. It feels like a long time ago. You know, 4 years, a lot changes in 4 years, and I've changed the type of person that I am, and I changed the kind of fighter that I am. And there's been so many changes in my life since then. So on Saturday, Tito's going to feel somebody he's never felt before. You know, I mean, I'm not the same fighter. And if he's assuming that I am, then he's going to be in trouble.
Tito, if we can just talk about the emotional mindset before the Bader fight, and then the emotional mindset heading into the Rashad Evans fight. I mean, that was about that. Let's be honest, the emotions going into that were high because you're fighting for your career. But it's almost like you're back on track. Now you're fighting potentially for a title shot. Can you talk about the two different mindsets leading in to these two fights?
Well, you kind of got to see me before the fight, for the Bader fight. I was so focused, man. I was just very positive in everything I did. My outlooks, being healthy, I think, personal stuff at home. I was able to battle through these things. You know, I have a great camp. You know, working with Jason Perillo, getting my hands focused and strong and powerful. Working with Ricardo Abreu with my wrestling, my jiu-jitsu, and some other guys that I spar with and wrestle with, and of course Mike Giovanni getting my cardio. Like, I haven't been here in a long time. I haven't been pressed for 6 5-minute rounds. Every round, every minute, as hard as possible in a long time, because I was too afraid to injure myself with my back and my neck prior. And now that I have it, and I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore, it just makes me that much more focused, you know. And now that I'm here against Rashad, you know, Dana gave me a call a week after my event was done with Bader. It was just such an emotional high for me that I was like, God, I kind of want to indulge in this glory. But Dana's like, man, we kind of need you right now. Can you help us out? And I was like, yeah. I mean, I didn't want to do it. Right off the bat, my first instinct was saying no. I want to take the summer off. I want to deal with my stuff, personal stuff at home. You know, my training center, punishment training center, my clothing company, punishment athletics, my new supplement line, punishment nutrition I just came out with. I really want to focus on the business stuff. But Dana's like, can you? And I was like, give me a day to think about it. A couple days later, he calls me back, goes, what do you think? I was like, give me a day to think about it. I thought about that night. People tweeted about it. Me and my training partners, my coaches, we talked about it. I called them back and I said, Dana, let's do this. It was against Rashad. Like I say, man, he's a great opponent. He's former world champion. Really tough. But at the same time, my mind focus is just so positive and so healthy. And I didn't get touched in the Bader fight. My wrestling's on par. My sparring's been on par. My boxing skills, my cardio, everything's been great. I haven't felt this healthy since I lost to Couture. I've been battling so much with mental stuff. I mean, I talked to Dan. I was like, man, I got to deal with stuff at home, and there's a lot of stuff I got to deal with. I've been away for this last camp for a Bader fight, and I got to deal with stuff at home. And he understood. He goes, I understand that. But I kind of just put it on hold and said, you know what, let's get this fight over with. 3 weeks. I trained for 2.5 weeks for this fight, but thank God Mike got me ready to compete. You know, I'm ready to go 6'5", man, and I'm strong. I'm healthy. You know, my weight is where I want it to be. So on Saturday night when I come in, I'm gonna try to do what I did on July 2nd.
Dana, just curious what you yourself, Joe Silva, Lorenzo Fertitta, at the MGM when Tito was coming out to Ryan Bader, there were a fair amount of boos, some cheers, but after he won, that place absolutely erupted. Wondering what you guys thought, you know, Tito Ortiz, because when he accepted the fight with Rashad, you mentioned that I wish this was Tito 7 years ago. You know, talk about the resurgence of Tito Ortiz and what it means for the business of the UFC.
Well, you know, that night, you know, all the stuff that Tito and I have been through, and, you know, yeah, Tito gets booed a lot and everything else, but going into that fight and facing what he was facing, it's hard not to be happy for him when you see him pull off a win like that. It's not like he went in there and squeaked out a win against Ryan Bader. He went in and stopped Bader in the first round, and he was a huge underdog, and nobody expected that to happen, and he pulled it off, and I think that because of that, a lot of people have gotten behind him and are happy for him and excited to see what he can do next.
Cool. Okay. My question's for Rashad. I don't know if you've been looking on the internet at all, or if you're just kind of keep your head clear or whatever. But all the comments after the workout yesterday are like, "Oh my God, Rashad looks huge. He looks amazing. His body looks incredible." Can you speak to specifically what, if anything, you did do differently training with Mike and the Black Zillions, or why? If it's just that we've forgotten because it's been a while, or what you've done physically that you look so different.
Well, I did 2 camps, back to back. I started training after I hurt my knee the first time, and then I just kept training, and I think that has to do a lot of it. But the strength and conditioning program that Mike Van Arsdale put me on had me feeling pretty strong, and it helped me gain the size and the strength that I need. Because I think that's one of the levels that I was really lacking, like in just that ability to physically take over a fight. But now I feel like I'm at that position right now, and my weight's been well, and just the whole team with the Black Zillions out there in South Florida. Our manager Glenn Robinson put a good situation for us all down there, and it's just good energy. And when you have good energy down there, you vibe on a different level. So I would go and train and go to the beach, and I think the salt water did me some good.
Well, you were supposed to call my brother to teach you to golf too, but you never did.
I forgot.
Well, that's
about
okay.
That,
and also want to follow up on that. Yesterday, I spoke with Mike about how some people are kind of saying that he's the next Greg Jackson, and talking about how he's able to put people in a nice mindset. I'm curious what your comment is on that. How you would compare the two coaches?
Yeah, they're very similar. Mike Van Arsdale has been behind the scenes for a while. He's been there with me all the way from Jason Lambert to he only missed like 2 fights, the Forrest Griffin fight and Machida fight. But Mike has always been one of my personal coaches, a guy who's always there for me to help me out. We started off as teammates, and we had like this bond and this connection. And then after he got done from competing, I wanted nobody else to help coach me but him. And he's always been there because we share the same mindset. And as far as when it comes to training, he knows how to motivate you, and he knows how to talk to you. And that's what it's about, becoming a good coach. You have to be able to speak and talk to your athletes on a level in which they can understand you no matter what kind of mood they're in.
Rashad, Mike was saying yesterday that he thought in the past you had been operating at maybe 65% of your maximum. Would you agree with that? And why do you think in the past, you were in great camps with, great training partners, that you weren't, getting more out of yourself than 65%?
I think it has to do with just sometimes you do what you have to do in practice, and you don't take it any further than that. And in order to get to the next level, you have to take it to the next level. You have to do what other people are not doing. You have to make it a lifestyle, and that's something I've done in the last 4 to 5, 6 months. I've made it a lifestyle. I've moved down to South Florida, and I still stay in Chicago, but for the most part, I'm living like a fighter. I'm waking up every single day, whether I have a fight or not, and I'm training. And that's something that I didn't do before. It was something that I've never done before in my whole career. So living the life of a fighter is something new to me, but at the same time, it's helped me become a lot better than I was in any other camp, and coming into this fight feeling more confident than I've ever been in my life.
Dana, here. When you called Tito, did you have any doubts in your mind that he would accept the fight?
Yeah, I had absolute doubt that he wouldn't accept the fight. Tito and I have been in business for a long time, pre-UFC, and I didn't think he'd take it, but why not call? And when I was talking earlier about how popular he is and how everybody's behind him, I think that was one of the big things too. I think another, on top of him pulling off the upset over Bader, Tito jumping in on such short notice and taking this fight gained him a lot more fans too. I think people really respect it.
Dana, this card has gotten a lot of these 3 fights have gotten a lot of good mention here today. I'd like you to also, if you could, talk about maybe an undercard match, either on the pay-per-view, the Spike, or the Facebook, that you just want to tell the fans, listen, don't miss this fight.
Yeah,
something that you're really looking forward to.
Yeah, both the Spike prelims are very good. Gustafsson and Hamill, and Ronnie Yaya and Chad Mendes are both great fights. And one of the things I said, Nam Fan and Mike Brown, there's a lot of great fights on the card. Joe Silva, as I said earlier, is the best matchmaker in combat sports, and one of the things that we've tried to do for the fans in putting together these Facebook prelims and the Spike fights and then the pay-per-view is so that the cards are so deep and so good so that everybody can see every fight. I know how bad it used to suck for the fighters when, we'd have, 5 fights on the main card and you had all these other guys, great fights happening on the undercards that people weren't able to see unless they bought tickets. So, Facebook, Spike TV, you can watch all the fights. We'll do one more question. Anybody got one more? Yes, sir.
Dana, Evans and Ortiz, does the winner get a title shot?
Rashad Evans is the #1 ranked light heavyweight in the world. Has been. And like I said, he's had a string of bad luck. He's supposed to get the title shot a couple times now. He is the guy, if he wins on Saturday night, he absolutely gets a shot at the title. Realistically, depending on how you look at rankings and how guys should be ranked, Tito Ortiz just beat, the number 7 guy in the world at light heavyweight. Where does that rank Tito? It depends on, people's opinions. Does it rank Tito number 10? Does it rank him 11? Where is Tito in the rankings? But I think if Tito should win on Saturday night, he's probably got 1 or 2 more guys he's got to knock off before he gets a title shot. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I tell you what, if Tito goes in and beats Rashad Evans Saturday night like he did Ryan Bader, it'd be pretty tough to deny that Tito's not one of the top 4 guys in the world.